Ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the universe, this is Roster Watch. My name is Alex Dunlap. I'm joined by Cody Carpentier. And Cody, we have the NFL League meetings happening right now. We have all these reporters huddling up at these breakfast tables with all the different coaches, GMs, owners, a bunch of fantasy and NFL draft relevant stuff coming out today. And I'm wondering, like, there's a bunch. I put a note on here on a bunch of different things. Is there anything that kind of stands out to you as we kind of look over this?
Well, I think it's amusing that they start asking some of these coaches about different things, and Vrabel goes right to, we're drafting a left tackle. He's also asked about Ramondre Stevenson, some positive notes about Ramondre Stevenson, while also saying I think it's important to have a good young back. I don't know, interesting. I haven't even gotten through all the notes yet, but I think it's interesting some of the stuff we're getting for the NFL draft circle.
Well, all right. So let's just stay with Vrabel then, because Vrabel he hinted a little bit about the strategy with the number 4 overall pick, because clearly we know the Patriots, they have a clear need at left tackle, but what he said was, I just think you have to be careful. Vrabel said, and this is via our friend Doug Kyde at the Boston Herald, right? So hopefully those two things can come together and align when you're drafting. But we certainly want to add premium players at the top of the draft and throughout the draft. That's our goal. So he's saying that, he's saying what we all know to be true, right? You would love it if, like, your biggest need turned out to be like the best player available there. And that could be the case, but I think reading between the lines, that's saying, well, if Abdul Carter's there or Travis Hunter's there, we're probably not going to go left tackle. I also think that it would be interesting to see what he says here about he says, so I was watching it earlier, and you might have just heard a little bit of the sound from it just now, because I clicked back here on the video, but he was saying that, he was asked, do you think that Will Campbell is a guard, or whether he's a tackle, right? And it's the question that everybody has about him, short arms, all this stuff. And he says, if he views him as a tackle, he says, I think you have to. I don't understand how you can watch him play in the SEC, which is the best conference in college football, against guys that are going to get drafted at that position. I don't think you have to project it. You can actually just watch and say, there's the snaps at left tackle. Evaluate it, see what you think. You know what I mean? I mean, he just said, I don't think you have to project it. I think you can just watch. I don't know, man. And I know it's the draft and it's smoke signals and it's coach speak and all that. But dude, am I crazy for kind of believing him? Am I crazy for kind of thinking that Will Campbell could be right back in the picture here? We've seen him take undersized, like, tackle prospects like Skoronski and stuff like that.
Ready for it? For those listening on podcast, I just made a circle on the screen.
The NFL draft's a flat circle.
We're back, baby. We're back, baby. We're almost here. We're inside of 4 weeks to the draft, and the flat circle's coming full all the way back around to, you know what, Will Campbell, you just got to turn the tape on. He's a left tackle. Well, he's a left tackle. Same goes for Banks. Same goes for all these different situations. I think this is when we can call it. We can call it March 31st when we're recording this. The flat circle is on its way back home. I think.
So we're back to Will Campbell. You think at 4? Like, that's it?
Well, dude, what have I been saying?
For some reason, I believe him. I shouldn't believe him. This is the perfect time to lie, but I kind of believe him.
What do you make of this then? It's the same conversation. So everyone in the media is suppressing and talking about this, the arm length thing, right? It's like arm, or, measurement gate, where they at the combine, all these guys measured a little bit longer than they did at these other events, or they measured different, right? And they're saying, the thing that come out is saying that the guy that measured at the combine wouldn't admit to measuring wrong, whatever that means. And everyone's off by like a quarter or 3/8, whatever it is. So if you just ignore that and you say he's got 33-inch arms, which is what he came through with, nobody's been talking about Kevin Banks, if we're being honest with ourselves. Are both of these tackles in play to be drafted here in the top 7? And that's just like the flat circle. You come back to it, and I know Membu's got to be in the conversation for the Raiders there at 7. But like, do we think that it's fully coming back full circle, And I think part of that would say, I just got off of doing another show where we're talking about like landing spots for Ashton Genty. And I'm like, well, you look at the Raiders at 6, it doesn't make sense. They need to go tackle. You look at the Saints at 9, you could tell yourself a story. They could get out of Kamara's contract this summer. They could tell yourself a story. The Bears need a left tackle, but they could use a running back. The Cowboys at 12 have more needs than a running back. They just signed 2 contracted running backs that are veterans that can take the ball, and they can wait till the 5th round to get. They have 3 picks in the 5th round. They can wait, and you're like, well, maybe we're not going to get a running back in the top 10. We're going to get these 3 tackles are going to be in the top 10, something like this. Like, that's, to me, you start getting back to the spot where it's been like, well, we got to find a spot for Tyler Warren. We got to find a spot for Ashton Genty. We got to find a spot for, Jalen Walker. It's like, what if the tackles are just the tackles? And everyone all along has believed that the tackles belong in that conversation.
Do you think that you just mentioned the Raiders as needing to go? Do you think they need to go tackle?
I think they need to go right tackle.
I'm just
Mambu.
I just really. I mean, it's like I could understand it, but if you just listen to what guys like Vic Tafer and some of these other guys are saying, is that I guess that they're
Trust me,
they need linebacker, they need cornerback, they need running back, they need receiver, and so though he was saying that it would be a 4-way tie as far as team needs. Now, the only guy who I could see, the only one who's at a position of need, and it goes back to what we just said about Vrabel, the only one that's a true position of need that would be there that might have the valuation from the team as being one of the top players in the draft would be Genty, or could it be Will Johnson?
Well,
because Pete Carroll, long, big corner.
Well, Maddie said Jahdae Barron.
Huh.
Jahdae Barron right now, you have to say, is ahead of Will Johnson in most conversations. Johnson has his pro day this next week, but
is Will Johnson a flat circle candidate?
Yes, his pro day's next week, man. We haven't heard hide nor hair, as somebody would say, about Will Johnson because he's been injured and been banged up. And I'll admit to it, like you just said about Vic Tafer. Like I did, my mock. I did a 7-round mock with the Raiders yesterday for the draft ranking show on YouTube, and I just got obliterated in the comments. I gave these guys literally Membu, came back in the 2nd round with a running back, and I got hate for it. I got told I was wrong. DJ Glaze is the starting tackle. Like, why are you drafting Membu? All this different stuff. I think that's the right process, but everyone else is like Jahdae Barron, Mason Graham, Genty, all these different things. I don't know.
Was Mason Graham available in that mock that you ran?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Huh. I mean, that would, yeah. I mean,
next,
I don't know. I don't know. I find it interesting. And another thing that I thought was super interesting was with Ben Johnson. Just talking kind of, just kind of scatter shooting here because there's just so much to get to. It might take us a few days to parse all this stuff out. But live from the owners meeting, he was on this CHGO Bears podcast, I guess, and there's a part in there where they discuss Tyler Warren, and the Bears apparently, like basically every team we've heard of, they consider him one of the best players in the draft, apparently. And they've watched film of him together. And Dennis Allen, who's now the defensive coordinator of the Bears, DA, longtime, Raiders and Saints coach and stuff. Now he's back at DC now with the Bears with Ben Johnson, and apparently via Adam Johns, who covers the Bears for The Athletic, I believe they're covering it. He reported that Dennis Allen relayed to Ben Johnson and others how much of a problem he would be to defend Tyler Warren. And I'm just like, hold on, all of a sudden we're talking about the Bears maybe taking Tyler. What is that, 10? We're talking about the Bears at 10, maybe taking Tyler Warren, and like, is that not an Ashton Genty possible spot anymore? Is that not a tackle spot? It's just like we start getting close into the draft, Cody, and I start seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold. I just don't know what to think.
Didn't the running back thing never make sense though? Didn't the running back thing with half of these teams never make sense, given historical positional importance. And I know people are going to say, well, recently, what about this class? What about the density of this class? What about each of the teams I just listed off? The Raiders, the Bears, the Cowboys. What about taking offensive line? What about these? And then you got second round picks. It's not like Caleb Johnson's going to disappear in the first round. Like I think the Bears have 39 and 41 overall. The Bears are like, if you draft a running back in the first round, you deserve to go 5 and 12 next year. You, 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 I would move up to get a tackle if I'm worried. If you go tight end, you're an idiot. You could go Banks or Campbell in round 1 at 10 overall, come back in the second round and take Caleb Johnson. Worst case scenario, if Quinshon's not there, you take Caleb Johnson, and then you could get Mason Taylor or Elijah Arroyo. Like, I understand Tyler Warren's special. I understand Ashton Genty's special. I don't think it's astronomical to say I would rather have Banks, Caleb Johnson, Mason Taylor. Would you rather have that trio, or would you rather have Genty, Ariante Ersari, and Mason Taylor, or Tyler Warren, Ariante Ersari, Caleb Johnson?
Well, you don't think is there any? Well, you have to. Is there any chance? So the Bears have pick
10, 39, and 41.
They have 10. They have their first round pick is 10. Yeah, they're 39 and 41. Is there any chance that Josh Simmons is still available at 39?
I think there's potential there, but we've also heard a lot of buzz. So it wouldn't shock me if he's not, but I do think that there's potential there.
What about Connerly?
Well, that one's feel like we've heard a little bit the last week about that coming back full circle too.
So you think who do you like better between Ursieri? Who do you like better between Ursieri and Connerly?
Connerly. I think Connerly's a flat circle candidate to go in round 1.
And the flat circle candidate means just everything goes back to the way it was right at the beginning of draft season. All this stuff that we've tried to talk ourselves, we've talked ourselves in circles, and all along it's going to be, in the case of a perfect flat circle world, it would be Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders going off the board, and then Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter and all this stuff, right? But I do think, as far as just the thing that was right from the very beginning, I'm kind of buying into starting now to buy into the Will Campbell stuff, the offensive tackle at LSU. I don't know about. Was Connerly thought of super highly before this whole thing started?
Let me go back to Connerly's. So he's currently 36th overall on NFL mock draft database. He's got plenty of mocks that are like 33rd team, Fox Sports, all this different stuff, 25th, 29th, 26th. If you go back to January, he was 28th, he was 26th, he was 29th. That was kind of his area. And now he's dropped down to 38. And now he's going back up to 36. He's trending 38. Now he's going a little bit back up.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if it were me, what I would want is there's no way I would take a tight end or a running back at 10.
No.
I take my tackle. Then I take Quinshon. Then I take, like you said, get Elijah Arroyo.
That's the nuts.
Go out there, walk out of there like I just robbed the bank.
And the same goes for the Raiders. The Bears could go nuts, and they could go Banks, and they could go Quinshon or Caleb, and then they could go tight end with Mason Taylor. And you think about the Raiders the same way. They could go 6th overall. You go Membu, come back in round 2, 37th overall. You go Quinshon, and then in the 3rd round, you go Trey Harris. And you've hit your 3 needs, I think. And I think both of those teams in those situations, it's the nuts.
What do you think about Mike Tomlin saying that, they asked him about drafting a quarterback, him saying that he is not, he's open to, I forgot what he said. He says he's open to acquisition at that position via any avenue. He says he's not shutting the door to anything. Do you think that the Steelers now are, it just, to me, when I think about the Steelers, when they're picking 21, right? That's what I have in my head. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. So if they're picking at 20, that's like where they always pick. You know what I mean? Like the Steelers are always going to pick at like 17, 22, something like that in recent years. Um, but they're 21 this year. And what it's led to, I feel like, man, it led to reaching on Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
And if you, isn't it going to lead to reaching? And would it be reaching on Jackson Dart?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yes, in totality of grades, it would be reaching, just like Shador is. Like Shador, you've heard it a lot. A lot of people are like, we don't have second round, we don't have first round grades on Shador. It is what it is. He'll get drafted round one. Dart, they say Dart's not, for some people, is not as far behind Shador. So if he goes in round one, he's a reach. But it's only a reach if it doesn't work out. If they draft him and it works out, it is what it is. I think the Steelers, man, as nonchalant, as cool as Mike Tomlin is, he's been really good the last couple of years, just kind of hiding what he's been going to do, right? That year with Kenny Pickett, all signs pointed to Malik Willis, right? And even like the move they made last year with Russ and Justin Fields, and then how Justin Fields ends up like starting, and we had the conversation about like I told you from camp, I was like, Russ is better. Like Russ is better. And then they just moved to Russ like in week 4. And it was like, you just don't know what his vibe is. He said something about Rodgers today about having a good relationship and creating relationships and stuff like this. I still think that's 100% on the table. I feel like that has to be done. I feel like the same with the Cousins thing. I think both the Rodgers and the Cousins things, maybe not officially done, but they have to be preliminarily like done before the draft happens. I know Kirk is like, well, I don't want to get cucked like I did last year with Michael Penix, but
Kirk
like,
Cousins says he's not going to do anything until after.
but what I'm saying is like there has to be a preliminary. There's no team. Tell me if I'm wrong. There's no team in the NFL that should or will go through a draft without a plan at the quarterback position.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Oh, you tell me that they're not going to collude with the agent and stuff like that to know.
Exactly.
Of
So
course,
if
they're
what
going
I'm
to
saying
know.
is if the Browns go in and the Steelers go in and they're both naked, right? And each of them are like, well, we're gonna get Rodgers and we're gonna get Cousins, but we're gonna wait till after the draft so that they're both happy on the other side. And then Rodgers decides to retire, and then Cousins goes to the Steelers, and the Browns are caught with their pants around their ankles and on their wrist duct taped to their ankles. Then
They
what?
already are.
Exactly.
I
You
mean,
can't go in without having preliminary conversations. You just can't do it. You have to have, a contract written up that goes, if we don't draft a guy blank, you're going to sign this
well,
contract
you
on
can't do
April
that. You
30th.
can't you can't make a contract about an off the books dealing that would technically be classified as collusion.
It's not collusion. It's just saying like, hey, this contract's on the table. It's hey Kirk, this contract's on the table. It's 10 million bucks, and on April 30th, you're going to sign it. And he goes, I'll sign it.
Yeah, that's not a binding contract. That's not a binding contract. Then Rogers retires. He decides to go be a Steeler. And next thing you know, it's like you got Jimmy Haslam. You feel horrible about it. You feel horrible. Like, not that I feel bad for Haslam. I mean, clearly he's super rich, and I think he's had some. Um, I think he's had some alleged business dealings and stuff like that. He's not anybody that I'm not crying in my cereal over this guy, but I will, not that I eat cereal, but I he's finally saying today, like, we took a big swing and a big miss, and he's talking about Deshaun Watson in the past tense, and he's saying that he's just saying that that was a big miss, and now we have this hole that we just have to dig ourselves out of, and it's just the situation we're in. And he says, and that he's like, it was a organization wide decision. Of course, I mean, to give Deshaun Watson $250 guaranteed. Shout out Dave Mulgeta. How much would he have made off of that?
A lot.
Was that 3%, 7.5 mil? Yeah, because 1% of two, yeah, 1% of 250 be 2 point. Gosh, he made 7.5 million off the Browns.
Dude,
But he's basically saying like this is all it ends with me and D. I guess his wife is D Haslam, and so it's like they're already in a miserable spot. Stefanski's out here saying this stuff like, well, like Kenny Pickett, I think we could be fine with him. I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of what the Browns are going to do. Do you have any thoughts about that? Have your thoughts changed at all about that?
I still am under the impression that it'll be the Kirk Cousins direction,
Okay.
but if they draft Shedeur Sanders, it's not obviously. And I currently like today, if you were to hold an ice pick to my neck, I would probably say 2 is going to be Shedeur.
I just don't know I really don't know what to think about it. I'm hoping just for my own sanity and for the Huddle Report contest and all the rest of it that we just get a report from Mary Kay Cabot or something saying, look, the Browns are expected to pick Shedeur Sanders in the draft. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
But I'm not sure I'm not sure that we're gonna get that. Speaking of holding an ice pick to your neck, it felt like James Cook for a while there was trying to hold an ice pick to the neck of the Buffalo Bills, getting on X and saying he wants $15 million per year and wants an extension and all this stuff like that. Brandon Beane this morning told reporters that he doesn't see them getting something done anytime soon with James Cook. Um, so basically about as clear as you can get, almost clear enough to where it's so clear that Cook probably is not even going to attempt to hold out or anything at this point because he's like, okay, I see. Like generally, I don't know, man. Like it's almost like if you just said something like, yeah, we can look into that or whatever, that would open the door for James Cook to maybe try and do some of this hold in stuff or, they're not going to do it. I wonder if it's like Bean just sees the strength of this class. Cook's been good, but if he wants to get paid, like, he wants to get paid like 15 mil, it's like absolutely not.
Dalvin, his brother, when he signed his contract, it was September 12th of the season before. Similar situation.
You think it's similar?
Yeah.
You think James Cook will hold out?
No. I'm saying that Dalvin got his contract before. So he was going to be an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 21. And the fall before, September 12th, he got his contract extension.
So
So I
what?
think there's plenty of time.
Dude, whenever he says I don't foresee anything happening anytime soon, that's saying we're not going to get it done. We're not going to do that.
It's March.
Well, I mean, it's March. It's March for another 11 hours. We're closer to April. I mean, I understand. So you think that they're going to extend him?
Dalvin Cook, entering his final year of his rookie deal, reportedly felt disrespected by the Vikings' contract extension offer and initially decided to hold out, meaning he wouldn't participate in team activities until he received a reasonable deal. He signed a contract on September 12th, the day before. I think that was like the day before the game.
Okay. I mean,
I'm just tying it
if
to
I
his
were if I
brother.
were the Bills, when did the Bill like what are some of do the Bills have a lot of second and third round picks and stuff?
The Bills have 2 seconds, 2 fourths, 3 fifths,
Yeah, 3/5.
and 2 fourths. So that from 108 to 173, they have 5 picks
They
within
do
65.
they are not going to be held hostage by James Cook of all people. Are you kidding me? They're gonna say like, dude, we have all like we got Ray like we got Ray last year. We're gonna take 2 more. We're gonna peel off some kind of we'll get like Woody Marks and Jarquez Hunter or something like that. And all this next thing you know, they're gonna say, look, James, we have all the leverage here, dude. You're not gonna get 10 mil. Like, I wonder what he was. I wonder what he's expecting 15 million a year. What do you make of Chris Ballard? Chris Ballard with the Colts saying that what does all this mean with Anthony Richardson because they're saying that now they told us at the combine that whoever they bring in for competition for Anthony Richardson, it's going to be a true open competition, right? You kind of think to yourself, 4th overall pick on Anthony Richardson. I'm not so sure that that's true. But then they bring in Daniel Jones, who, say what you will about Daniel Jones, he's not a complete stiff. He's operated in an NFL offense. It's like with Anthony Richardson, the thing about him is, like, I'm not sure he's going to get that much better if he's not getting all the reps.
Bingo. What if I told you in Dynasty I have Daniel Jones one spot ahead of Shedeur Sanders, who's the QB2 in the class, and looked at as like a top 12 super flex asset in rookie drafts? That's my belief in Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is going to be the starter here. They said they're going to give him split opportunities. And if that's the case, if they really give him split opportunities, Anthony Richardson's only been working with his quarterback coach for 2 months. It hasn't been like 6 months, and he needs 6-8 months. I think this is Daniel Jones' job. And, I don't know really what to make out of the Anthony Richardson side of things, but I think this is 100% Daniel Jones' job to lose.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.